Good evening to our resource person for today, Mrs. Sanchita Srivastav, and to all the participants to today's training program on elementary science. We will wait for a few minutes more. When the clock strikes 4, ma'am will start the training. Till then, the participants are expected to be ready for the training and let more participants join. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, proceed. All the best.
Thank you. My screen is visible to everybody? Hello? Is my screen visible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, good evening and welcome to the session on elementary science. So, basically, when we'll be dealing with the elementary science, I'll be basically dealing with the teaching strategies attached to the elementary science. Okay. So, elementary science is think. So elementary science, when we talk of elementary science, basically we are dealing with upper primary. Upper primary means from classes 1 to class 8. So science supposed to be one of the main subject in the curriculum. So it is very important for us to deal with its importance and the effective strategies connected to it. Okay. So here in the firstly, we go with the National Curriculum Framework. And this National Curriculum Framework was framed in 2005, as you can see. And, this is very, very important for this teaching of the child, and it deals with the importance rather. Okay, so according to the National Curriculum Framework, you see that good education should be true to the child, true to life, and true to science. That means what? Good science education is related to true to child, true to life, and true to science. Now, what is true to child? True to child means it has to go to the standards according to the age appropriate for the child. That means it should be giving proper benefit to the child. That means the child should learn something and from this scientific curriculum. Okay. Then true to life. That means this education should be somewhere useful in life of the child. And true to science. That means it should be true to all the scientific temperaments. Scientific strategies, what is science, should be true in that sense. Okay, so these are the three things that has to be inculcated when we are talking of elementary education. Right, now you see, when we are dealing with this, there are some validity. You see the cognitive validity, the content validity, the process validity, the historical validity, environmental validity, and ethical validity. Now, these are the 6 main vital areas where the curriculum has to deal with. That is cognitive validity. Cognitive validity is related to the brain, the mind, the way it is developed within the mind. That is cognitive validity. That means this education should be improving the scientific temperament, and as the child grows, the scientific attitude or scientific temperament should be developed within the child. Now, content validity. Now, whatever content the child has been prescribed in the curriculum, that should be age appropriate, and that should be according to the class and the cognitive level of that particular child. That means the child has to equate with the level of what the content is given. The process validity. Now, what is process validity? Process validity is something the way you deliberate the content to the child. So that is the process. And process, when you are dealing with the process, definitely here I would like to say that the learning outcome will be the result of how the thing has been delivered. Now, when we are dealing with maths, there are so many ways. For example, we have the joyful mathematics and all that. So that means what? The process of giving or delivering the content to the child should be appropriate and easily imbibed by the children. Then the historical validity. Now, this historical validity is something very, very important. See, we need to know how these scientific theories, scientific temperaments came into us, because society, science, and our everyday life, they are all mashed up together. It is very difficult to identify science from the daily life, right? Now, see, we have so many historical stories. For example, Thomas Alva Edison, how was his life and how he invented the light. Then Archimedes, how he invented buoyancy. We know we have so many stories that he went to the courtroom of the king, and there he got a bathtub, and then he went into the bathtub so that the water that flowed out was equal to the weight of his body. So these things, you know, historical validity, that means it should be a very interesting way and the child should know the origin and theory of these science. Okay. And environmental validity, see, this is something that is very, very important. Why? Because science and environment, you cannot detach them from each other, right? Because we are a part of the environment and child should be made understood that he is also a very integral part of the environment. So eco-friendly things, caring of the environment should be also within the curriculum, and these things should be developed right from the upper primary level. For example, banning of plastics, use of eco-friendly things, planting of trees. So that thing is known as environmental validity, and ethical validity is child should know what is ethically appropriate. And you know, the child should be knowing if and only if we as teachers should be taking it in a proper way. So I'm dealing with the points here. See, according to the national curriculum framework, again I would say that constructive approach. See, constructivism is also a part along with the 21st century skill. That means what? You give a positive approach to it, isn't it? And this positive approach is available only when you think it in a positive way, take it in a positive way. And again, you know, our role is something very, very crucial and something very, very important. Okay, see, now what are teachers? What is the role of a teacher? See, teachers here, we are facilitators. You know what are facilitators? Facilitators is somebody we create, we enable, we support, and that is the condition for the knowledge construction. So in one word, that is called constructivism. What we create an educational environment, a learning environment. We enable the child to absorb the knowledge in that environment, and when the knowledge is delivered to that particular child, you know, we should be giving them support from our side. The environment should be conducive for the child. Okay, so support, that is means the support environment. Now again, you see the national, this is the same slide, I'm sorry. Okay, now you see here, see outcomes of teaching science at the upper primary level. See, what are the three main points that we have to take together? See, we all know that the 3H formula. What is the 3H formula? The head, the heart, and the hand. That means the cognitive skill. The head should know. That means the brain should be easily imbibing the content, and you know, they should be given uh, the opportunity to analyze, think, and also the creative skill that the brain can do, isn't it? We have so many field works, we have so many debates, we have the project work. So those are the ways where you can instigate the cognitive skill within a child. Then attitudinal skill, that means developing the scientific temperament within the child is actually dealing the attitudinal skill. And the psychomotor is hands-on activities. The child should know what they are learning, they should absorb it in their daily life, and then they are able to perform. For example, we demonstrate an experiment. So when we demonstrate an experiment, it goes into the cognitive skill. They learn, they see, they observe, then they develop an idea how to perform the experiment. And when they are independently perform the experiment, we call it as a psychomotor skill. That means hands-on, we all know. And even, you know, these three domains are very, very important in the Bloom's taxonomy itself. So the cognitive skills, the attitudinal skill, and the psychomotor skill, threes are very, very important. And that is the integral part when we are dealing with the scientific strategies or elementary science skills. Okay, now what to the learners? Learners have to exhibit the cognitive skill. They should be learning, they should be developing the ideas, and finally they should be performing the activities. Now what the learners would do? They become effective self-learner. See, creating self-learner should be our basic motto when we are dealing with this elementary science level, because you know, up to class 8, what they develop, they become the outcomes we find in class 9, 10, 11, and 12. That means the temperament, how, whether they will be taking up science, the love for science, the things they develop all around is actually depending at these levels. So, this upper primary level up to class 8 is very, very important for a learner. And, this self-learner, creating self-learner is one of the basic things. Now, construct knowledge by himself. That means when the person becomes self-learner, when the child becomes self-learner, he starts exploring. So when the child starts exploring, he will find out so many facts and figures related to the topic. So that is what we teachers, we have to implant the seed of inquisitiveness in this particular subject. If they are not curious, they will not be seeking knowledge from outside. It shouldn't be a boring experience. Okay, now build a body of knowledge about immediate and for environment. So that means what? Today and tomorrow. What is today and what is the future of our country, future of the environment, future of the world, they should be able to understand. That means in that stage, see the scarcity of water, importance of water, the global warming, the plastic that is creating a disadvantages to the society, then soil erosion. These are all something, from EVS, when the child gradually goes into the scientific form, this is what they have to develop. So develop a scientific temper and make evidence based decisions. See, what is, for example, when we go into the Newton's first law of motion, second law of motion, third law of motion. So when the child will be playing cricket, for example, he won't be multiplying F is equal to M into A, but he should know that when the child will be playing cricket, that second law of motion will come into action. So that is the very basic. And age appropriate learning also very, very important. F is equal to MA, that will come on a very later part. But when the child is in class 4, class 5, we introduce this Newton's law through the small example of force, motion. Motion can change the direction. Motion can, see, force can start and stop an object. Force can change the shape. So that is how to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So these things are very, very integral. The levers, the pulley, these are also integral part when in the future they learn mechanics, right? So that is very, very important. Then identifies environment and health related problem and offer solution. See, health and hygiene, integral part of the life science classes, biology classes. See, in the junior classes, upper primary to class 8, after 6, the bifurcation is there. You have biology, you have physics, you have chemistry. But in the junior classes, it is just like EVS. So here, when they learn about disease causing pathogen and all, they'll come to the later part. But basically they should know that if you are eating things that is uncovered, you may fall sick. Flies are the carrier, mosquitoes you should be careful of. So these health related problem, what is the solution? Keep foods covered, wash your hand before you eat. So these are something, these are actually the forerunners what you have it in the future. So works with hand to design simple technologies, units and modules. See, project work is also an integral part of our curriculum. All schools follow that, and that is very, very important. And articulation and communicate scientific ideas effectively. That means the group discussion, debates, what you learn. Collaborative effect to design efficient solution and strategies. That is also very, very important. When you collab together, so different subjects is all together, different topics all together, so you come to a very efficient way. Now, basically, what is science? Where do you find science? Science is not something you find in the curriculum book. It is not locked up in the book. You see, science, you find it in our daily life. Science, you find it in the society. Science and the environment, it is inseparable. So how, when you are developing this scientific temperament, you develop skills and processes. Okay, then science as an inquiry through familiar experience. We perform so many experience. Air has pressure. Okay, air exerts pressure. Sorry, air exerts pressure. It is something very, very common. And now a small child also knows that if cold drinks are in the season, a small child knows that if he sucks the straw, the cold drinks will get from the bottle through the pipe to the mouth. So if he has to drink the cold drink, he has to suck. That means what? Simple air pressure, we can use that. Air has pressure, because nowadays that fountain pen experiment we cannot use because things have changed. There's no fountain pen. Earlier when our time was there, we need to have a dropper to put in ink and all that, but these things are not presently there. So that cold drink, straw, balloon, isn't it? The injection syringe, these things are some very, very example. You can take examples from our daily life to make to that. So that is what science is. Now, how do students learn science? Basically, how do they learn? Learning is active learning. That means whenever the class is there, the active learning is that way. When you have an interactive class, they question you. See, a silent class and an interactive class is often different. Interactive class is far more healthier than a class where every children is silent and nobody asks you something. So when there is an open-end question or questionnaires from both ends, we call it as an active learning class, and that gives a active learning experience. Okay. Now learning is built on previous knowledge. That knowledge, what you have, what you collect from our day-to-day life, gives you an experience. You built a learning experience. For example, I tell you that small children have got an habit of dipping their hands in a bucket of water. So next time if you tell them that if you are dipping your hands in a bucket of water, you see that something pushes your hand upward. Very common example. You can easily explain upthrust and buoyancy here. You take an inflated balloon and ask the child to dip it in the water. It would get pushed up. Very simple knowledge of buoyancy can be explained through this, and there are various and multiple examples which you teachers can use them. Then learning arises out of interaction. What I said, interaction means what? Hands-on, social and environmental activity. For example, that World Environment Day. If the children plant trees, so many schools are doing that, isn't it? Children will be bringing trees or small plants, not tree. They cannot bring tree, excuse me for that. Okay, so if they are bringing small plants from the house, so they know, they would be very caring. They would be writing their names and keeping it in the school garden and groom them when they are growing. So that means what? You interact the child with the environment, isn't it? Then learning built on observation, reflecting, interpreting, and elaborating. For example, in small classes, you have land animals, you have water animals. So generally, what do? Earlier we had that scrapbook system. But nowadays, things are more advanced. Children are more prone to technologies. They observe better. So they can make a pictorial slide out of it, because that is observation, reflecting. Now what they observe, they will think. So that is the reflecting part. Interpreting and elaborating. So they will be explaining it. Now you can take them for field studies. They will collect things. For example, plants, dicotyledonous plant, monocotyledonous plant, seeds of various types. So many things are there. Now learning is accelerated by interesting challenges. See, if there is no challenge in the field, nobody would ever study also. That means if you reward the child for their small achievement, it would create their interest. They'll take it up as a challenge, right? So clarity in learning comes from dissenting, debating, opinion on situations, ideas, system, and practices. It is not always, that you have to always give the lecture and teach them. It can be the other way around. Have you seen this? Have you done this? Isn't it? Those questions, anything other than what I am teaching is important. You know about it. So they'll have various ideas, isn't it? Now, when we talk of wild animals, for example, what are wild animals? This examples are wild animals. For example, you go to the class and you say, today we'll be dealing with wild animal. Wild animals means animals that live in the forest. I'm talking of class 1, 2 children that way. Okay. Animals living in the forest. So what are wild animals? Please note it down. Number 1, leopard. Number 2, hyena. Number 3, lion, tiger. Okay. Other way around, if you can change the way, have you seen animals that are found in the jungle? And give the example. So you see, same thing. What you are telling, what is in the pedagogy or what is in the curriculum, your thing is different. But simply you turn the table and have you seen? Your work is half done. And another thing, students' error are hidden opportunities. That means children, if the children are making mistake, good. They learn from their mistakes. So students' error are hidden opportunities. So they'll excel in the next part. But only thing is you have to give them the space. You have to give them the time and chance. So finally, what is very, very important is components of learning outcome. So what are the components? See, performance, conditions, and criteria. These are the three things that is very, very important when we are dealing with a learning outcome, because learning outcome is something that is very, very important, because this is what will judge you as a teacher. If you might be a very excellent academics, okay, you have some high scores in the academics, but until and unless your children learn what you are teaching, that means your outcome is definitely a measurable quantity. It is a measurable quantity. It is qualitative as well as quantitative. So this outcome is very, very important. So whatever you are teaching, whatever strategies you are teaching, until and unless your outcome is reached, you'll not be able to do anything. So that is what. Now, how do you measure the outcome? The outcome is on the performance of the student. Outcome is on the condition on which the student performs, and what are the criteria you judge the performances. So see, teaching, example, strategies, and these are the types of strategies. This should be the thing. Now here, now teaching. What is teaching? Teaching as a profession is formally the job of talented and trained people in the field of education. So obviously we demand a great applause for ourselves, isn't it? Because we definitely demand a great applause. Why? Because we are definitely talented, so that we have chosen this profession, isn't it? See, so many of us, all, not so many, all of us at this right moment we are connected, we are all teachers, isn't it? And we are teacher definitely by choice. We chose this profession. We are not here by default. We love this profession, isn't it? So obviously we have certain talents, and obviously we are qualified. So we are trained people in this field of education. Now, basically that is what we are, and we are saddled with all the pedagogical principles and practices and mandate to ensure the all-round development of the learners. Technically, we know we have to teach this. This is the pedagogy. This is the content. This should be the content. How much thing there should be there. Then all levels of teaching is a complex process. Definitely teaching is a complex process, because it's not easy, because you are dealing with live students. The outcome is real students and real outcomes. It is not a one-way process. Okay. Now, basic elements includes objectives, content, methodology, assessment, and the personality of the teacher and the quality of the learner. Definitely that is also important. Can anybody tell me, according to you all, a personality of a teacher is important? How is it important, the personality of a teacher? Should the teacher will be beautiful and handsome? Is it? Or what else? Please. Inspires the student, definitely. See, a teacher's personality should be like that. Number one, should be impartial. Yes, role model. Yes, definitely a role model. Anything else? Confident. Yes, confident in his yes. Anything else? Creative, motivated. Yes, yes. So many of you. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, according to my point of view, you know, the personality of the teacher would be such that, see, as motivational is definitely a teacher should be motivated. Okay, motivating the children. Then, secondly, the teacher should be very strong and stern also. Confident in the subject, agree to that. But teacher should be also able to handle the class, the behavioral management. It is not easy to get away. Teacher should be always with a smiling face, good communication, not very harsh with the children. But on the other hand, should make the child know of the limitations. That is also very, very important, because it is not easy to get away with a teacher, isn't it? Behavior, controlling the behavior also. And definitely a good teacher, an effective teacher, creates quality learner. That is also very, very important. And again, what I had seen, so many of you had been telling that role of a teacher is not an easy one. Definitely teachers are facilitators, but the role of teacher is not an easy one. And a common man and a teacher, there's a huge difference to it. 10 common man equivalent to one teacher, whichever class, whichever grade the person is teaching. A teacher is a teacher, right? Whether it is primary, pre-primary, upper primary, elementary, secondary, senior secondary, but a teacher is a teacher, and the role a teacher plays is very, very important one. Now here, teaching. First I said that what a teacher is. Now you see, when it comes to the teaching refers to all the processes and activities to impart knowledge. Our work as facilitators is related to the activities designed to impart knowledge, skills, and understanding at all level of education firm. Broadly and simply, it is causing people to learn. So in school, the conditions, if the student has not learned, then the teacher has not taught. So teaching is a standard of form. Teaching, a standard of formal teacher. That means what? Earlier times, whenever parents teacher meeting, your son is not learning. I cannot do. I take the class every day, but your child is not learning. But these excuses is an old one. If you say that your child is not learning, the other way question would come, what were you doing then? Right? So that means it is our responsibility. The formal teaching should be from our side, and students interaction in which the learning is the main product. See, if we case of product, the learning outcome is a product. So that means the child should be learning whatever you are teaching, and that measurable form comes with the assessment. Essentially, a teacher is a guide. Definitely we are guides. The activities of the student in order to produce learning. The guidance may be direct. See, directly you can demonstrate, do this, do that, or indirectly you give the ideas. See, these are the things, these are the ways you can create this thing. any XYZ, whatever the project work you are giving. Okay, so that is the guidance may be direct or indirect, and unstructured and unstructured. Structured means you definitely give the exact data, you do this, you do that, and these are the parameters. But sometimes, you give your children an opportunity to develop their own skill. So that is the very important, and that, is an unstructured form. So learning, on the other hand, is a process by which behavior changes as a result of experience. Definitely, that makes the difference. Change in behavior that results in the experience. And so the test of learning is behavioral changes on modification that occurs. So that means the behavioral changes that if the child has understood, they have put a trust in you, you have it this way. Now, some examples. What are the ways you can use? See, you can teach a child by live lecture method. That means you demonstrate the data and okay. Then secondly is whatever you have taught. Okay, you can ask the child to identify. That means what? Through assessment, assignments. You give them as homework, you give them as classwork. That is the assignment. And then, you can also make use. See, teaching tools earlier was only the duster, the chalk, the board. Even your hands can be used as a teaching tool. You have maps, you have files. Okay, so many files, in the sense I'm talking of created files. For example, file work. Okay, those are example. But on the other hand, nowadays this multimedia can be a boon to the teaching of the subject, for any subject. Okay, so that is the thing. Now, what are the main strategies? See, how do the child learn? When main basic strategies, you see, visualization. There's an old English saying that teach me, I will forget, show me, I will remember, and engage me, I will keep it a memory for a lifelong. So that means what? Visualization. That means what is seeing is believing, right? It is also saying. So that means whatever you give an example, whenever you take up a topic in your classroom, see that the children visualize it in a very, very precise way, so that they have a memory to excuse me, so that they have a memory and they understand better. Cooperative learning. Cooperative learning is again both ways. See, peer association is also a great way of learning, and also when you cooperate, interact with the children, with the teacher, so that way it is a cooperative learning is very, very important. Now the third is inquiry based. Inquiry based means the children will inquire you, they will ask questions. Differentiation, they'll have the idea to differentiate between two different things. Technologies in the classroom is always a boon to it. Behavioral management. See, whenever you are teaching a student, their behavior also count. See, if you have a pack of very noisy group of children, the class is very rowdy, so that means that environment of teaching is somewhere disrupted. You cannot teach a child who is not focusing on, who is not sitting at your place and listening to it. This is a proper teaching environment, and behavioral management is also one of the very, very important thing. Okay, now I'll come to part wise. See, visualization. Now, what is visualization? See, visualization, I told you that it is seeing is believing. Bring dull academic concept to life with visual and practical learning experiences. Help your student to understand how their schooling applies to the real world. That means what? When you are giving a concept, for example, what are wild animals, what are domestic animals, instead of just telling, if you show them the pictures, animals that they know, they can visualize and have a practical learning experience. They'll understand what they are seeing. Examples including the interactive whiteboard. We have the whiteboard to display photos. You can use audio clips. For example, sound of animals. Sound of animal, if you are using it For example, dog barks, the cow mows. That way, the animals sound if you are telling together. So it would be more applicable than the normal one, as well as encouraging your student to get out of their seat with classroom experiments and local field trip. See, field work is also one of the very, very important and integral part in our scientific studies. Okay. So earlier what the curriculum used to have some field trips, studies, environmental tours that way. But nowadays, so many schools due to lack of time and some security issues like that, these educational trips have nearly come to an end, isn't it? So those field trips, even those excursions, when you take child for an excursion, it is always in an educational way. So those give them live concept, isn't it? So that is very, very important. Now, after visualization, you see the topic was cooperative learning. What is cooperative learning? That means you should encourage the student of mixed abilities. Mixed abilities means some are high ranker, some are mediocre, and some are normal or lower IQ children. So if you mix them together and give them a group activity to work together by promoting small groups or the whole class activity through verbally expressing their ideas and responding to others, your student will develop their self-confidence as well as enhance their communication and critical thinking skill, which are vital throughout their life. For example, you have few children who are that 90 graders, then comes the 80 grade, 70 grade. So that way, see, grades definitely is not a level how you judge, but you have some children, those Miss I type, whenever you go into the classroom and when you discuss that some children are there very prompt, very enthusiastic. So you make them the group leader, and those who will not understand you properly will definitely follow them. So peer association is also there, and you will develop some excellent leaders out of the group. So the self-confidence in children of the slow learners will also be boosted up, since an open-ended communication is there, and critical thinking skills, it is vital throughout the life. Then problem solving mathematical puzzles, conducting scientific experiments, and acting out short dramas. See, infusing of dramas is also very, very important. For example, I tell you, for example, that matter occupies space, and in solids the molecules are very tightly packed, liquids the molecules are far apart, and in gases molecules are very, very far apart. So that way, if you take groups of children, you assemble them, there's some that are tightly handed together, belongs to the solid, some they are loosely handed. So that concept of tightly packed, loosely packed, and very loosely packed in matter will be very, very easy to demonstrate that. A class 4, class 5 children, when matter, they are introduced to matter first, when you use this kind of short dramas, sketches, that is very important. This is called as a cooperative learning, and it can be incorporated into classroom lessons. Now here, it is the differentiation. What is differentiation? Differentiate your teaching by allocating tasks based on student ability. For example, don't give same work, same assessment to all the children, because when you are having a classroom, definitely you have a segregated community. Some are fast learner, very intellectual, some are little slow learners. Okay, so give the task. See, if you give a common task, the slow learners will find it difficult, and the fast learner who are very much intelligent will do it very fast. So that way, you are not exploiting their ability to the maximum. So bring out their talent. You have to differentiate whatever the task has been given according to the ability of the student, to ensure that no one is left behind. So assigning classroom activity according to students' unique learning need means individuals with higher academic capabilities are stretched and those who are struggling get the appropriate support. That means some are slow learners. If they cannot cope with the subject, you be a support to them. That means what? Those who can do it very easily will do it themselves. Those who cannot do it themselves, you support them. So this is what the differentiation strategy, that is very, very important. Now, again, this part is also a very, very important part. See, inquiry-based instructions. That means if you use provoking questions, do you know this? If you know, please raise your hand and children will become more independent learners. That means encourage the student to ask questions. That way they will develop their interest, and you know that problem solving skill as well as deeper thinking, deeper understanding of the academic concept will be excelled to the most. So that is what very, very important. So that means, see, when you are dealing with question papers, those who are having classes in class 10 and class 12, you know that the question paper, the rote learning part is only of 4% of the entire question paper. Basic questions are based on problem solving skill, then critical thinking. Now you have the case-based questions also. So what is those case-based questions? Case-based question actually integrate the problem solving skill within the individual. It triggers the critical thinking capacity, and that is very, very important because our motto is to create self learners. Okay, so those can be followed at the elementary level also. That what we are following in the secondary and senior secondary. Case-based question, comprehension passages are always there in the English, isn't it? We don't have it in the science in the elementary level, but we can use those case-based concept there itself, right? Then the next part is the behavior management. Now, what is behavior management? Can anybody tell me, please? What is behavior management? How is behavior management important to learning? Yes, anybody? Can anybody tell me? How is behavior management important in this teaching elementary science? Yes? Anybody, please? Yes, anybody? Anybody can just give me a hint what I want to say? Reaction of the student, definitely reaction of the student. Student should be encouraged to solve their problem. Yes, but behavioral management is helps to teach student about being, yes, that respectful. Definitely engage the student in learning. Okay, and anything else? Anything else? Society indulge, socially indulge. Okay, listening. See, one word, learning skill of student. See, listening is something, one word. Who said? Yes, it's going very fast. Badal Kumar, behavior management of classroom, encourage listening. Nice. Child's behavior. Yes, that is something positive. Behavior to teach and listening. Yes. So that means my, yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. See, that is what I want to say, that behavior management, I told, it is an interaction between the children, between the student and the teacher within a classroom, and it should be respectful. They should know, you know, discipline is also an integral part in a classroom management. If you are having a noisy class and half the time, if the teacher spends the time, please keep quiet, you cannot teach such a class. You might be having that 40 minutes time, you might be engaging those 40 minutes time, but the learning outcome would be zero. It is futile, useless, because until and unless The children, yes, definitely. Roshan Fatma, very nice, very nice. Yes, again, Ragini Singh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. Yes, support learning to make positive choices. Ashish Kumar, thank you so much, sir. These are definitely what they want. Be polite in classroom. Okay, polite is okay, it's a different one, but every student is different. I know every student. Be polite with a smiley face. No, that is not a solution, sir. Being polite and with a smiling face, you cannot control a class of 40 mischievous children. Your behavior, your body language should be such that everybody in your presence should know and respect the discipline and the moral code within the classroom. So implementation as effective behavior management strategy, it is crucial to gain your students' respect and ensure students have an equal chance of reaching their full potential. Until and unless the children have focus on you, they have the support on you, it is very difficult. See, noisy and disruptive classroom do not encourage a productive learning environment. Therefore, developing an atmosphere of mutual respect. See, you should be also respecting the children. You cannot just shout at them so that they are demoralized. No, questions from their side should be always be welcoming, but one at a time or in a very well disciplined manner. So that behavior management is also very, very important, because until and unless your class children are well behaved, teaching whatever you teach, how well you teach, how efficient skills you have, it is all futile. So this is a very, very important part. Now, finally, what we are teaching should be helpful in the life of the children. Okay, what you are teaching today should be important and helpful in their life. See, here in the slide, you see competency based learning. It is one of the vital, or rather the important 21st century skill. Why? Because whatever you learn, you can be professionally use that learning. So until and unless your teaching is helping you in your profession, there is no use. See, how many of you agree with me? You just say that we had a logarithm unit. Okay. So that logarithm, how many of you have used that logarithm outside your school? So I would say that logarithm was never helpful in my life. I don't know about the other. Can anybody tell me after school you have used logarithm or not? We had the logs. No. Yes. Anybody else? See, majority of you are telling no. That means what? Yes. Somebody said yes also. That means it would be a very few. Up to class 12, I know when we were solving those huge big calculations of thermodynamics and all that, you know, where that zero never comes to an end. So that time we used to use that logarithm. Modern things, you know, there are more easier method. So that's so now we don't have it in the syllabus at all. So that means it was not a competency based that we had in the curriculum. Yes. Then knowledge, skills and training. That means whatever experience you gain, you should be able to develop a skill, professional skill through your learning. So that is also a very, very important thing. So whenever as strategically, when we are dealing with the elementary science, the student should be competent enough to use that study in their future. So engaging in regular professional development programs is a great way to enhance teaching and learning in your classroom. See, nowadays we have career counseling in schools, isn't it? Even we have so many CPBs on career counseling. Why? Because you have to counsel that child in such a way, motivate the child in such a way that whatever the child is learning, he or she can use it in a future profession, isn't it? See, nowadays with NEP 2020 at the corner, you know, we have gaming as a subject, because we know that in the nowadays modern time, if the person is skilled in that gaming and something like that, and our times it was a very difficult one. We never heard that about gaming and something like that. And very honestly, what technology is, how useful it is during the COVID we learned it. Otherwise, I personally, I never had the chance to meet technology in this way before COVID. So see, again, we never knew, so we face difficulties, but our children are smarter, isn't it? With smartphone and all that, it might be very difficult for us, but they are well skilled. So that means if gaming, programming, these are new subjects, they have got new skills to it, isn't it? So that means the subject matter, the curriculum should be in such a way that in the future also the child could be using it in their profession, right? So it is also a great excuse to get out of the classroom and work alongside other teachers just like you. And sessions can include learning about non-educational technologies, online safety. Yes, sometimes it is very, very important, that training the children of the online safety training or cyber security. We have some programs, CPB programs on health and wellness. You see, in that health and wellness, it is also mentioned that training the child for cyber safety or online safety trainings, that is very, very important. Because when you are exposing the child to this online world, okay, online world, it is not always the social media that is useful, but the social media sometime may be very, very damaging. Okay, because these online safety training should be given so that there is no threat. The child should not have any threat from their side, and advice on how to use teaching assistants and much more. So that is what is very, 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 very important. Now here, now what a classroom is. What a classroom is. Classroom is a very dynamic environment. It brings together students from different environment with various abilities and personalities. Obviously, whenever we have a classroom, we definitely have a segregated community altogether, because school itself is a community, and the teacher develops a community of trust. Teacher should develop a trust so that your children should trust you, right? And in that community should be safe for the children also. So if there is no safety in your classroom, safety in what sense? I'm telling you that if you raise your voice in your classroom, you might have a pin drop silence. You might have pin drop silence in the classroom, but here, that community of trust within the classroom is broken. So children should not find themselves free enough to ask you anything. So that is not a perfect classroom. It is a dynamic environment. Okay. So since children of different backgrounds, they are coming, some children are very mild, in their personalities, very soft spoken. So if you scold them or if you raise your voice in the classroom, the child will not learn. And it's then how is it possible? Because an effective teacher here requires the implementation of creativeness and innovative teaching strategies in order to meet the students' need. See, if we are talking of elementary science and we are talking of teaching strategies, there is no rule for it. There is absolutely no rule for it. There is no one size fits rule. See, you have to act according to the needs and demand of your classroom. Every child is unique and every child's need is a different one. So whenever you are plotting any assignment, whenever you are drafting a classwork, whatever activities you are drafting, it should be appropriate to your class. Age appropriate, content appropriate, topic appropriate, and finally, that should be appropriate to your entire class in school. Now, whether you have been teaching 2 months or 20 years, it can be difficult to know which teaching strategies will work best with your students. You might have lots of experience, lots of degrees along with you. I know this, I know that. Yes, definitely. Definitely, a teacher who has been teaching for more than 20 years is a much experienced teacher. But if that experience of teaching cannot touch the heart and mind of your student, everything goes in vain. Agreed or not? Whatever you teach, your students should be able to capture that. Yes. Okay, absolutely right. Because your experience is yours. And what counts is the final learning outcome. So the well you deliver your content, the well your learning outcome is there, that gives you 100% score on your learning outcome. So that is what, elementary science and the strategies is to that. See, whenever then teaching strategies you should inspire your classroom practice. That is something that is very, very inspiring. See, one thing also is there, that lesson plan, since I had only 1 hour, so I had to cut it very short. But one thing I want to say, that out of all these strategies, when you are planning a lesson plan, or when you are planning the curriculum, or the planning the activity of a particular topic, you should make it appropriate and as need of everybody. Okay, so that means what, that differentiation was also there. The strategy, what I said earlier also, that thing should also be here. See, differentiation, when you are planning the lesson plan, that has to be kept in mind, that also the slow learners as well as the active learners, prompt learners, it should be benefiting all of you. So I hope you I hope you found the session useful. If you have a query, please you can ask in the chat box. Anything you want me to explain again, or some points you have a question, that way. Because strategically wise, what I had said, you have to use it according to your classroom, the students you have. So if you have a question, please ask me. But on the whole, thank you so much, all of you, for being so patient. And yes, any query, you can just write it in the chat box. Yes. Okay. So I think there is no query from your side, isn't it? So thank you so much, ma'am. And I will be ending the session here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.